Welcome back. Yeah. Bill, how are you, man?
I'm good. You doing all right?
I can't complain. You know, no one wants to listen.
That's right. We're getting through the summer, so this is nice. New routines, just, you know.
I tell you, I'm dreading the end of summer because then we have to start fighting kids to get them off to school again, whereas right now it's easy to slip out of the house and just be gone, get some stuff done in the morning, you know, even work a little bit before you leave the house.
Yeah, there you go. So, there you go.
Well, look, I wanted to come in and have a conversation today. I got an interesting phone call a few weeks back. Aspiring agency owner, which great goal, right?
Absolutely.
It was an agency owner that was looking to jump out and start their own agency. And I would say their expectations of what agency ownership is were not lining up.
Yeah,
well.
No, you called me on this one. It
Yes.
was gave me a good laugh.
Yes, we had a good chuckle over this one.
I would have assumed before this phone call that the expectation was much higher, and it may be for everybody else, but since we did get the one phone call and you were able to talk to this person, maybe people don't understand what the expectation is when they go start an insurance agency or start a business for that matter.
That's what I was going to say. It might not even be an insurance agency. This can apply to any potential small business owner, right? Yeah. And I think the biggest thing is you need to understand that first and foremost, you're going to work long hours and it's going to be stressful. That's a non-negotiable, I think.
Yeah, I think people look at the benefits of working for themselves.
Yep.
And they look at going, well, I can make my own hours. I can do what I want to do. Although they can, it just may not be successful if they don't put in the time. So
I was going to say that, yes, you can make your own hours and you've got some of that flexibility to go to a ball game where you might not have that flexibility while working for someone else. But you need to have that expectation and that understanding that if you want to be successful, you got to make those hours up somewhere along the line.
Look, and I would say this, you can go to that ball game, but your phone better be in your pocket. I mean, especially when we're starting out. I mean, I think this is where we're saying too, this isn't something that you've had an agency or a business that you've earned that, or you've got the clientele, you've got employees. This is something starting where you're probably it.
Yes. I mean,
you're the one and only, and you got to be there. I hate to say that, but you got to be there for people.
Well, and you've got to understand, and this is kind of the little joke I like to tell everybody. You know, when you're starting your own business, you're everything now. You know, you're the lead salesperson, you're the lead service person, you're the human resources department, you're the janitor, you're the maintenance guy, you're everything that point. And so you have to be readily available, put in that time to get to that point to where maybe some of that, I'd say, flexibility is there a little more often.
And even if you outsource some of those items, which we've talked about that previously, you may outsource bookkeeping, or let's pick on what you just said with the janitor. You still got to oversee it.
Yeah.
So even if you outsource it, it's still your responsibility.
Very much so.
And ultimately, if it doesn't get done, you got to do it.
You've got to pick that slack up. I completely agree. You know, the other piece I think we need to look at with that is, as I was kind of doing some research on small businesses and the hours that they work, the thing that I kind of noticed about agencies, our hours truthfully reflect what you see in the retail or like the food service industry. People are buying insurance at irregular hours or want to buy and engage with you in irregular hours. But the other side of that is claims. They don't happen on a schedule.
No, they do not. And look, let me go a step further, and let's just pretend that you're working at 8 to 5 job. And you run your insurance agency 8 to 5. That's the only time you take calls. Don't think that's typically the case, but let's just go there for a second. Okay, you're out prospecting, you're doing your quotes, you're getting proposals to people, you're selling insurance. Well, now you still have to worry about running a business.
Yeah.
So really, your 8 to 5 may be prospecting and going and getting clients, servicing clients, you following up with claims. But after 5, well, now that's the time where you've got to start figuring out your next marketing plan and everything that goes into being successful.
You know, the average small business owner works 50 to 60 hours a week.
Yeah.
That's the owner, right?
Yeah,
so even when you're successful and you get to that point as an established business owner, you're still putting in more than what the average employee does at 8 to 5. But now a startup business, they're working an average of 60 to 80 hours a week.
I think one of the things that you mentioned too from the phone call was, I want to start my own business to be less stressed.
Yeah.
and that made me laugh the second time. I think you got to understand where you're at, where your mind is. Hopefully you can get to a point where it's not so stressful. But there's going to be times when you're starting that are just going to be stressful. Things aren't going to be fast enough for you. You're not going to understand something. You're having to do new things, having to scrub toilets, to your point, being a janitor. Yeah. It's not going to be all fun and games. Not all the time. Now, again, I don't want to discredit that it's not great, but
no, and to that point, even on the stress aspect, we're focusing here today on the startup phase of it.
Right.
But let's also be realistic. In the future, you're going to make investments in this business, and you're going to try to outsource some of those things along the way as you have success and can afford to do that, whether that's through employees or third parties or whatever it might be. But the other side of that is, from a stress perspective, oftentimes I see a small business owner, they are still stressed in the future, and partly because they can't duplicate themselves.
Yeah.
And ultimately that leads to stress within the environment in general of managing people and managing the business. Right. So while owning your own business is a great goal and owning your own agency is a great goal, it's an admirable goal, I think you need to understand that it's not a way to create more free time. And from a stress perspective, that stress is going to be there. You need to understand that going in.
And how to manage it, right? So same thing, time management at the beginning. Are you going to have much work-life balance? Maybe not.
Yeah.
I wouldn't start a business for that reason.
For that reason.
Now, could you get there? Absolutely. But it wouldn't be something you should expect week one, month one, year one. Same thing with stress. Agree. Stress is going to come with anything.
Yeah.
How you deal with it is the other thing. So don't go into it just going, okay, I'm doing this because it'll be stress-free. That's not true.
Yeah.
Now, how you deal with it, how do you interact with partners? We talk about this. We've got partners that call quite a bit that are stressed out on certain situations. Well, I do think with the way we handle things and we talk to people, it helps alleviate some of that stress.
I would agree.
Because then they're not just that business owner taking on 100% of the stress with nobody to talk to.
Right. They've got an outlet for it. They've got a resource.
That's right. You got somebody you can bounce ideas around and maybe calm the nerves a little bit going, okay, it's really not that bad.
Right.
But when you're stuck by yourself
on that island,
I can see where it just kind of festers and gets worse and worse.
Yes. One of the jokes I tell everybody is, sometimes our partnership, we're that therapist. We're there to listen to you vent and kind of go through those stressful situations and tell you, hey, just breathe. We're going to get this right. It's going to be okay. And sometimes having that person there for that it's I don't want to say priceless, right? But it's a benefit for sure.
I think just to kind of recap, this isn't something that we're saying don't do.
Right.
This is something just to understand the expectations and make sure your mind is right before you go jump into doing this. Don't jump into it for the wrong reason.
And I think when we're going through the conversation with a prospective new member that's a startup, right? I want them to have realistic expectations on what their revenue potential is, premium potential, what they're looking to build. But I also want them to have realistic expectations on what they have to do to get to that point.
Yeah, that's right.
If you don't have those realistic expectations, I'm going to be the first to tell you that, because I don't want to go into a marriage, which is what I equate our partnership to, with somebody that's not realistic about what they're entering. And so that's the goal here today, is just let's make sure we're realistic on everything, not just what our earning potential is.
That's right. So, good deal, man. I appreciate it. This was a unique conversation from a unique phone call.
Yes, it was a unique phone call. So, all right, man, I appreciate it. Good to see you.
Good seeing you. Thanks for tuning in. You can catch our Build Your Legacy Insurance Edition podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. Be sure to subscribe, leave us a review, or send us over a topic recommendation at podcast@siaofnc.com. If you're interested in learning more about what we do, visit us online at www.siaofnc.com. We hope you enjoyed our newest episode. See you next week.